Come on in. It's nice to meet you.
See?
Perfect. Okay, hi, hello. My name is Jen, or Genevieve, whatever you like to call me, but mainly people just call me Jen. So we're gonna go over a couple of guidelines for our first session and just an overview of what our counseling sessions will look like coming up in the future if you continue to proceed with me after we go over these guidelines and what that looks like. So starting off for today's session, I want to remind you that you are here voluntarily. So this is totally your choice. Don't feel like you're being held down to this room or strapped in your chair. No worries. You have total freedom here. So at any point, if you were to not want to continue with our sessions, that is totally okay.
Yeah.
If you wanted to continue counseling, however, I can totally refer you to someone else. I know a couple of great counselors out there. So if someone else you think would be a better fit, I can give you a list of like 2 or 3 names, their business cards, and just people to refer you to if you choose to go down that route. But if you were to continue to stick with me, let's say in your personal life, if you were in a relationship and they didn't want you to go to counseling, or maybe your family didn't want you to go to counseling and they were fully against it, I want to remind you that this is totally your choice. You're not being strapped down. Like I said, they can't force you to or not to do. I can't force you to or not to. So I just want to remind you of that for sure. So second, I want to talk about client involvement. So for these sessions specifically, it's going to look like a lot of talking back and forth. I want this to be a conversation that we're having. Don't think that it has to be one-sided by any means. It's not just me talking to you and not just you talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually ask that this be a conversation, that you're open to hearing what I have to say, and I will fully be open to listening to everything that you're telling me. I also, you'll notice me taking notes in my notebook, and we'll go into that in a little bit, but don't think that I'm shutting you off and I have one ear closed. I'm fully listening, fully engaged. This is a back and forth relationship that we're trying to build here, and a trustworthy one for sure. With client involvement, I just want to remind you also that you can contact me within this room and in these sessions. I do, however, have business hours, so I'm not in this building all day, all night, unfortunately. I actually am only here from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then anytime after 5 p.m. I don't touch my phone. I put on Do Not Disturb, so if you needed to reach somebody, if you were in any immediate danger, or if you were thinking about self-harming or something, I'm going to give you a list here of numbers to contact. But I'm also going to give you my work number, so if it wasn't an immediate emergency and you just thought of something and you needed to let me know and you were like, I don't want to forget, you can totally call me. It's going to go to voicemail, but I make sure the first thing I do in the morning when I step into the office, I go over all of my voicemails before I meet with the clients, and I'll take notes and we can talk about it in our next session if we choose to continue.
Mm-hmm.
So then on the other half, we're going to talk about my involvement. So within these 4 walls, I'm going to do my best to create a calm, safe, trustworthy environment. There could be at any point though that you may feel like I'm not upholding what I am saying I'm going to do. And if that happens, if you feel like I'm not doing that, or if I'm crossing any boundaries that we're going to set in place here, you can totally refer to the number that I've actually written down for you in the website, and there's people that you can go to basically to go with your complaints or anything like that. And then also, like I said, those numbers and people that I can refer you to as well if you don't feel like I'm creating the environment that I've said to. Totally 100%. There's other counselors out there that you can maybe get that better space from, but I will do my best to create the space. Like I said, I want it to be a conversation and healthy and meaningful. So, with counseling, unfortunately, there's no guarantees. So, there's no magic wand I can wave. I can't make the pain or things just go away. We're going to talk out different strategies, different tools that you can use throughout your day-to-day life, different things like that to just better yourself, better your health, and things like that. But let's say you were to come to me in future sessions and tell me like, hey, like I have an addiction or certain things like that. This isn't a thing that will just magically make you better. It doesn't mean that you won't struggle still. So that is one risk, unfortunately. Another risk is maybe relationally, like I said, there could be a partner or maybe family members if they don't want you to go to counseling or certain things like that. It could create a separation or just maybe a little bit of uncomfortability in your relationships with day-to-day people. Know that by no means you're not obligated to tell everybody, hey, I'm going to counseling. Mm-hmm. That's also not something to be ashamed of. But don't feel like you're obligated to do that by any means. Also, one other risk that I need to make sure you are aware of is I am a mandatory reporter. So let's say you had a plan to harm yourself or other people, and if there was immediate danger, I have a ethical job to uphold this mandatory reporting guidelines, and I have to contact authorities or whoever I see fit to then create a plan and carry out the best that we see fit. So outside of that though, there's no breach of confidentiality. I'm not going to your friends, your family. I'm not calling people and telling them what our sessions look like. Mm-hmm. There's no recording. Like, we're just keeping this between the two of us for sure. And so then also, like I told you, I'm going to be writing down some notes in my notebook throughout our sessions. So like I said, 1 year is being closed, fully listening, fully engaged. I just have to take some notes like for refreshers for future sessions, diagnosis, things like that. And everything that is written in this notebook, you actually are entitled to know. You can ask me, hey, what's my diagnosis? Or, hey, like what are some things that you're writing down? And I can totally share that with you. This isn't one-sided, like I said. But nobody else can just ask me and I give them the notebook. It actually is going to be kept in a private file. Let's say you told me, oh, I'm actually switching over counselors and different things like that. Mm-hmm. This information then doesn't mean that it's no longer kept confidential. Actually, there is a 6-month period where just in case you were to come back or certain things like that, I want to keep your file. But after those 6 months, then you would be considered somebody else's patient, and these notebooks and these files would actually be shredded permanently. Nobody can access your information, all that good stuff. So, like I said, we consider confidentiality priority, but there is some exceptions, like I said, authority. Let's say we got into some legal issues, and in court, they could ask me certain information. I could actually pull out your file and say, yeah, we did talk about this. Here's all the bullet points, and it's basically just like a reinforcement to back up certain things. But no, outside of that, that's taking it a little bit to the extreme. But that's not the most common case. That doesn't happen often. Okay, so then I want to talk about my counseling approach. Like I told you, I'm a cognitive therapist, so we're going to be doing a lot of talk therapy. However, I also got some licensing. Wow.
There you go.
Thank you. I got a license in art therapy, so we can utilize that fully throughout our sessions. Some people hear that and are caught off guard and are very overwhelmed, but that is a technique that I like to use time to time, and also if I find it benefits my patient. So we can also utilize that within our sessions as well. I like to do it from time to time. Yes, okay. So then I also want to go over the ethical guidelines. So I will always do my best to do good. I don't want to do any harm to you as a client. There are some guidelines. It's called the ACACE. It's a website that you can actually go to and look at my ethical guidelines, and after sessions maybe you're like, oh, I don't think that she was maybe upholding to those guidelines. You can look through those for yourself and say, yep, she didn't uphold that one, or she does really good with this one, this one, this one. So I just want to let you be aware of that as well. And then for licensing regulations, I actually have an LPC, and that is basically just a licensed professional counselor for mental health. And then I also got my MA in Wayne State. And then, like I said, I'm also a certified art therapist from Fresno State University with a bachelor's in Spring Arbor University. So I've been all over, certified all over, like to test out the waters. So those are some of my credentials. If you needed to go back and look at my credentials and things, there is some websites, like I said, I've written down for you to go and refer back to, and if you have any complaints, different things like that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about billing. So we love that session. Okay, so counseling sessions typically are $114 with me, but a lot of that should be covered through your insurance. Let's say for some reason your insurance can't cover it fully, being as you're not a minor.
Yeah.
Yes, you're no longer a minor.
Yeah.
You would be required to pay whatever that co-payment comes out to be. Sometimes after insurance that could look like $30, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But we can figure out a plan also of what that would look like. For cancellations, however, like I said, each session is $114. So if you had to cancel for any reason, we ask that you do so 48 hours prior. And I've written down the number of our front desk, so you would call them and let them know, hey, like something came up, I have to cancel, totally fine. But if it's not within that 48-hour period, you might have to pay that fee. But let's say you were to continuously cancel or not cancel within the 48 hours and just not be a no-show, that price could then go up and then lead to termination in the future. But I hope we don't have to worry about that. As well as I want to talk about my affiliations and supervisors. So I'm affiliated with the American Counseling Association, and for supervisors, this isn't going to pertain to this room specifically, but I do want to let you know in case you were to choose another counselor. Like I said, I'm an LPC, but some people have a limited counseling degree, so that looks like they have to have a counselor in the room, or like I said, I'm out of school, but some people are still in school, they're doing internships, so they have to run certain clips or recordings of their counseling sessions through their professors. We don't have to worry about that here, but I just want you to be aware of it because some of the referrals that I may give you or different things like that would look, their credentials would look different than mine. And then finally, I just want to talk to you about my colleague consultations. So like I said, confidentiality is super important to me, but sometimes I don't necessarily always know the best way to go about things, like moving forward. I might just want another opinion or bird's eye view. So basically what that would look like is me talking to other licensed professionals, not just anybody, and they would help me with any concerns that I have in order of maintaining the quality of care that I would like to provide for you. But I won't give any names. They're not getting any of your personal information. They're not getting into all the nitty-gritty things. And also, like I said, if I'm going to be utilizing art therapy, some lessons and things that other licensed professionals may use, I may see fit and beneficial to our sessions as well. So I can talk that over with them, and then use that within this room as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's all that I wanted to go over with you today. In the future, if you would choose to